I knew I was in trouble the moment Chandler's eyes met mine, not with the fury of a rival, but with something far more dangerous: understanding. I had spent years convincing myself he was the problem, yet somehow, in the middle of a breaking investigation and a city spiraling into chaos, he became the only person I could trust. Fiance does not fall. Not for stories, not for danger, and definitely not for the police officer who once made his career a living hell. But everything changed the night the city caught fire, figuratively and almost literally, and the man I had sworn to avoid became the one holding me up when the world tilted sideways. Back then, Chandler Ward and I breathed in the same storm, but stood on opposite sides of it. I hunted truth with a camera and a pen. He hunted criminals with a badge and a stubborn sense of justice that drove me insane. Every time our paths crossed, sparks flew, mostly the hostile kind. I pushed his buttons, he pushed mine, and the universe laughed at the two idiots too proud to admit they cared about the very same things. The truth is, I never hated Chandler. I hated how much I noticed him. And that night, when everything began to unravel, noticing him was impossible to ignore. It started with a tip I should have never followed alone. A warehouse in the dead center of the industrial district. A supposedly abandoned hub that suddenly had late-night deliveries and men who did not appreciate being watched. I had slipped through shadows with my camera strapped to my chest, telling myself I was doing it for the story. But deep down, I knew I was also doing it to prove something. To Chandler, to myself, maybe even to the world. My feet had barely touched the concrete when headlights flashed behind me, flooding the alley with harsh white glare. My heart stopped. Not because I thought it was the men inside the warehouse. No, because I recognized the voice that barked my name. Finian, what the hell are you doing here? Chandler emerged from the patrol car like he had been carved out of tension itself, jaw clenched, uniform creased from hours of use, chest rising and falling like he had sprinted to find me. His blonde hair was a mess, and he looked less like a cop enforcing the law and more like a man terrified of what he might have arrived too late to stop. You're following this lead alone, he demanded, shock and anger mixing in his voice. You're out of your mind. I forced a smirk. Good to see you too, Officer Ward. He looked like he wanted to shake me, maybe arrest me, maybe pull me into the safest place in the world. I didn't know which was worse. You're going home, he said. Now. This operation is bigger than anything you think you're playing at. I rolled my eyes. I had a job to do, and I wasn't about to let Chandler stop me out of misplaced heroism or whatever it was he felt whenever I pushed myself into danger. But then the warehouse doors slammed open. Men spilled out. Not 2, not 3, at least 6. And they were armed. Chandler grabbed my wrist and yanked me behind the car just as bullets shredded the air. Glass shattered. Concrete splintered. My heart hammered against my ribs like a fist begging to be let out. Stay down, Chandler growled, one hand reaching for his radio, the other shielding me with his body. The world narrowed to heat and adrenaline, and the weight of Chandler's arm pressed against my shoulder. His voice cut through the chaos, low and steady and impossibly grounding. We're going to be fine. I've got you. Those words should not have meant anything. They should not have broken me open. But they did. Because for the first time since I met him, I realized Chandler wasn't just trying to stop me from ruining his investigation. He was trying to keep me alive. And maybe, deep down, he always had been. Backup arrived. The men scattered. The night cracked apart at the seams until only silence was left. And when it was over, when the sirens faded and the smoke cleared, Chandler turned to me with an expression I had never seen on him before. Fear, relief, something deeper, something that made my throat tighten. You could have died, he whispered. I swallowed. So could you. He took a step closer. Too close. Close enough that I could smell the rain clinging to his uniform and feel the tremor he was trying to hide. Why do you always run headfirst into danger, he asked, voice raw. Why do you have to make everything harder? Because if I stop running, I'll have to feel something, I muttered. And you make that impossible. Silence. Heavy. Breathless. Then Chandler reached out, slowly, like he was approaching something fragile, something precious. "Finian," he said softly, my name turning gentle in his mouth. "Don't do that. Don't push me away. Not after this." I didn't move. Couldn't move. Every part of me was suspended between fear and wanting and the unbearable truth that I had spent years pretending I didn't care about a man who made the world feel sharper and clearer than any story ever had. Chandler exhaled shakily. "You drive me insane, but I can't lose you. Not you." And suddenly the night wasn't cold anymore. The city didn't calm down after that night. If anything, the storm picked up momentum. The warehouse turned out to be part of a larger criminal web that wound through the districts like a dark vein, poisoning everything it touched. And somehow, despite every warning, every lecture, every glare Chandler threw my way, I found myself pulled deeper into it. But not alone. Chandler became my shadow. Or maybe I became his. We fought side by side more than we fought each other, and each step forward blurred the line we had once used as armor. The arguments didn't stop. They became something else. More fire than fury. More charged. More dangerous. He would grab my arm and snap, "You need to stop throwing yourself into the fire." And I would snap back, "Maybe if you stopped trying to save me, I wouldn't have to." But underneath it all ran an unspoken truth that neither of us dared touch. Not yet. The night everything changed for good came 3 weeks later. A night when the rain was relentless and the city felt like it was holding its breath. The final piece of the investigation had fallen into place. We were close to shutting down the operation. Too close, and the men we were chasing knew it. Chandler and I ended up in an abandoned transit station chasing a lead that should have been routine but wasn't. Nothing about us was ever routine. The air was thick with humidity and tension as we moved through the tunnels. My flashlight flickered across rusted tracks and water-stained concrete. Chandler stayed right beside me, his presence grounding but also deeply distracting. "You should have stayed in the car," he muttered. "And missed the action, not a chance." He groaned under his breath. "Why do you do this to me?" "Because you look cute when you're annoyed." His steps faltered, just for a second. Then he whispered, "Finian, please. Not now. You're going to kill me someday." Before I could tease him, a shout echoed through the tunnel. A shadow lunged. A weapon glinted. I pushed Chandler out of the way before thinking. The next few seconds were a blur of metal clashing and bodies slamming into walls. Chandler tackled the attacker. Another appeared from behind. I swung my camera like a weapon because of course I did. Chandler cursed under his breath as he shoved me toward cover. "Finian, get back." Not happening. Another blow. Another shout. Another heartbeat skipping a step. And then suddenly it was over. We stood breathing hard, adrenaline burning through every nerve, the tunnel humming with the aftermath of violence. Chandler grabbed my face in both hands and pressed his forehead to mine, breaths mingling in the cold air. "Don't ever do that again," he whispered. "Don't ever take a hit for me." I smiled weakly. "Then who'll save you when you're too busy trying to save me?" His hands tightened. His voice cracked. "I can't lose you. I can't." The words lodged in my chest like an anchor. "Chandler," I whispered. And maybe it was the fear, or the relief, or the fact that we were two idiots pretending not to feel what had always been there. But I leaned forward. And he didn't pull away. His lips met mine with the force of everything we had been denying. Anger, fear, want, and something deeper, something that broke open every wall I had ever built. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was real. When we finally pulled apart, Chandler rested his forehead against my cheek and whispered, "I think I've been falling for you for a long time." My breath trembled. "Yeah, me too." And that was how everything truly began. The days that followed felt different in ways I could not quite name. Maybe it was the way Chandler's gaze lingered on me a second longer than before, softening at the edges. Maybe it was the way he kept finding reasons to stand close enough that our shoulders brushed. Maybe it was the way my chest tightened every time he said my name like it was a secret he intended to guard. Whatever it was, nothing between us went back to the way it used to be. Of course, we did not talk about the kiss. Chandler avoided the subject with the same determination he used to tackle suspects. I avoided it because every time I thought about it, my heart tried to climb out of my body. So instead of talking, we let the truth simmer beneath the surface, burning slow and steady. The investigation pressed on. The criminal web tightened, and so did the unspoken tension between us. One evening, we sat in his cramped office at the precinct, surrounded by maps, case files, and cold takeout containers. The air smelled like coffee and exhaustion. Chandler leaned over his desk, flipping through reports with a concentration that would have been admirable if it were not so frustratingly distracting. His blonde hair fell slightly into his eyes, and I fought the urge to brush it back. "You are staring again," he murmured without looking up. I jolted. "I am not staring." He lifted an eyebrow. "You are absolutely staring." I crossed my arms. "Maybe I am scrutinizing your terrible handwriting." Chandler huffed a laugh. "It is not terrible." I leaned over his shoulder. "You write like a doctor having a stroke." He elbowed me lightly. "Give me that." He snatched the pen from my fingers. "Also move. You are too close." I raised an eyebrow. "You do not sound like you want me to move." His jaw tightened. He did not deny it. Before I could push further, the door swung open. Detective Soames stepped in, eyes flicking between us with a curiosity that made Chandler straighten so abruptly he nearly knocked over his coffee. Soames placed a thick folder on the desk. "We got something. Surveillance footage from the docks. You are both going to want to see this." Chandler opened the file, motioning me beside him. As the grainy images flickered across the screen, something cold slid down my spine. "There he is," I whispered. A man in a gray jacket. The same one who had nearly taken Chandler's life in the tunnel. The same one who had watched me with dead, calculating eyes. He was speaking to someone unfamiliar. Someone in a long black coat, whose face remained hidden. "You know him?" I asked softly. Chandler's expression darkened. "No, but I know his reputation. They call him the broker. He is the one pulling the strings." The broker, a name whispered in police circles like a ghost story no one wanted to acknowledge. Chandler exhaled slowly, fingers tightening around the folder. "If the broker is involved, this goes deeper than we thought. We are running out of time." He stood abruptly, tension radiating from every line of his body. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To talk to the captain. We need more manpower. And you." He paused, leveling me with a look that was half warning, half plea. "You stay here." "Absolutely not. Finney and I am serious." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "If you think I am sitting in a chair while you go after a man like that, you are insane." Chandler's lips parted like he wanted to argue, or maybe agree. Instead, he shut the folder with a quiet snap. "Fine, but you stay with me. Always with me. Understood?" My chest tightened. "Understood." He held my gaze a beat too long before turning away. I followed him out the door, my pulse beating an unfamiliar rhythm. The city felt different that night. Quieter, as if even the wind was holding its breath. Chandler and I arrived at the docks with 2 patrol units trailing behind. The moon cast a pale sheen over the water, turning everything silver and sharp. The metal containers loomed like sleeping giants, hiding secrets in their shadows. Chandler walked slightly ahead, flashlight in hand, his shoulders tense. I stayed close like he asked, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. It grounded me more than the crunch of gravel beneath our boots. We reached a row of storage buildings. Their metal doors creaked in the wind, tapping softly like restless fingers. Chandler raised a hand, signaling the officers to spread out. "Stay behind me," he murmured. I shook my head. "I stay with you. You said so yourself." He glanced at me, exasperation and something softer flickering in his eyes. "You are impossible." I grinned despite the tension. "You love that about me." Chandler's breath caught. He looked away, ears flushing lightly. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." His hand twitched like he wanted to reach for me, but stopped himself. My heart stuttered. Then a sound echoed, a faint metallic thud coming from a nearby storage unit. Chandler stiffened. That came from Building 12. Stay alert. We approached slowly. The wind carried the smell of salt and rust. Chandler's flashlight swept across the door. It was slightly ajar. He signaled the officers. They positioned themselves on either side. On my mark, he whispered. Then everything went wrong. The door exploded outward with brutal force. A figure lunged from the shadows, slamming into one of the officers. A gunshot rang through the night. Shouts erupted. Chandler shoved me behind him, drawing his weapon. Down he barked. But before I could move, another figure emerged. The man in the gray jacket. His eyes locked on me with lethal intent. Finney and Chandler shouted. I ducked as the man swung a crowbar, missing me by inches. I rolled, scrambled, grabbed the nearest weapon I could find, an old metal pipe lying on the ground. Chandler fired a warning shot. Drop it now. The man snarled and rushed Chandler. No, I screamed, sprinting toward them. The world narrowed to 3 hearts beating out of sync. Footsteps on wet concrete. The sharp smell of gunpowder. The man swung the crowbar. Chandler blocked it, but the blow sent him stumbling. Before he could recover, the man charged again. I did not think. I jumped between them, swinging the pipe with everything I had. It connected with a sickening crack. The gray jacket man dropped. Chandler grabbed me, pulling me into him so tightly I could barely breathe. Finian, Jesus, Finian, he choked, checking me frantically. Are you hurt? Did he hit you? I shook my head, adrenaline shaking my hands. I'm fine. I'm fine. He cupped my face, forehead pressed to mine. You scared the hell out of me. Then the world shifted. A slow clap echoed from the dark. We spun. A tall man stepped forward, his coat long and black, his face half hidden beneath the brim of a hat. The broker. My blood turned to ice. Chandler raised his weapon, hands where I can see them. The broker smiled, calm, controlled, like he had already won. Fascinating, he drawled. The little journalist and the devoted officer. I must admit you two are far more troublesome than expected. Chandler stepped in front of me. Stay back. The broker tilted his head, protecting him. How touching. If you want him, you go through me, Chandler said, voice low and lethal. The broker chuckled. Oh, I was expecting nothing less. Then he snapped his fingers. 3 more men emerged from the shadows, armed. Chandler grabbed my wrist. Run. We sprinted. Gunshots exploded behind us. Metal containers ricocheted sound like thunder. We weaved through the maze of crates, the air slicing sharp in my lungs. This way, Chandler shouted. But before we could reach the exit, a figure appeared in our path. Chandler shoved me hard. Move. We ducked into another row of crates, but the footsteps behind us grew louder. Finney and Chandler gasped, pulling me close. Listen to me. If they catch up, you run. You don't look back. Absolutely not. Finney, and I mean it. I grabbed his shirt, and I mean it more. I am not leaving you. We finish this together, or not at all. His breath trembled. Why do you always do this? Because I love you. The words ripped from me before I could stop them. Chandler froze. The world froze. Then something in him broke open. He pulled me in, kissing me so fiercely it stole the breath from my lungs. His hands tangled in my hair. Mine clutched the back of his jacket like the world could fall apart, and this would be the only thing left. When he pulled away, his voice was a whisper of fire. I love you too. Then a shout cut through the night. Over there. Chandler grabbed my hand. Come on. We ran again. I didn't know where. Didn't care. All I felt was Chandler's fingers laced with mine, pulling me toward the faint hope of survival. The broker's men chased us across the docks, past abandoned cranes, past stacks of crates towering like tombstones. The ocean roared below, waves slamming against steel pillars. We reached the end of the platform. A dead end. Finney and Chandler breathed, eyes scanning frantically. Stay behind me. I tightened my grip. Not happening. The broker stepped into view, his men flanking him. You should have stayed out of this, he said softly. Both of you. Chandler raised his weapon. You will not touch him. The broker sighed. Love makes people reckless. He lifted a hand. His men aimed. My heart stopped. Chandler shoved me down just as the first bullet fired. Everything exploded. The blast of gunfire tore through the night, echoing across the docks like thunder ripping the sky open. Chandler's body collided with mine as he drove us behind a stack of crates, shielding me with the full weight of his frame. Wood splintered around us as bullets slammed into the container walls. Stay down, Chandler hissed, voice shaking with adrenaline. I grabbed the back of his vest. Chandler, you are going to get killed if you keep. A bullet ricocheted inches from his head. He pressed closer, breath hot against my ear. Do not argue. Not now. The gunfire ceased for a breathless second. Footsteps crunched. They are flanking us, Chandler whispered. We need to move. He pulled me up, keeping his body between me and the attackers as we dashed toward another row of crates. My heart hammered so loudly I felt it in my teeth. We skidded behind a forklift. Metal rang out as a bullet hit the frame. We are pinned, I gasped. Not for long. Chandler reached for his radio. Ward to dispatch. Officers down. We need backup at the West Docks. Multiple armed suspects. Repeat. A bullet smacked the radio out of his hand, shattering it against the ground. The broker's voice drifted through the darkness. You really should have walked away from this, Officer Ward. Chandler's jaw locked. Keep moving. We zigzagged through the shadows, but the broker's men were hurting us, closing the circle like predators tightening around prey. We reached the far edge of the dock. The ocean below churned violently, waves crashing against concrete. No way out. Not this way. Chandler turned, gun raised. I stood behind him, clutching my makeshift metal pipe, hands trembling. The broker stepped into the faint light, coat swaying lazily in the wind. His men surrounded him, guns drawn. Cornered, he said softly. Shame. I hoped this would be easier. Chandler didn't waver. Let him go. He has nothing to do with this. Oh, but he does, the broker murmured. The moment he stepped into the investigation, he made himself part of the story. And you made him a vulnerability. Chandler stiffened. You touch him, and I swear. The broker lifted a finger, amused. Love is such an interesting flaw. My stomach turned. Chandler's breath hitched. Then someone grabbed me from behind. A thick arm locked around my chest, yanking me backward. I dropped the pipe, gasping. Chandler spun. Finian. The man pressed something cold and sharp against my throat. Move and he dies. Chandler froze. His gun lowered a fraction. His eyes went wild. Let him go, Chandler growled. Let him go and take me. The broker lifted an eyebrow. Take you think you are worth more than him. Chandler's voice cracked. Yes, please. I will give you anything. Just do not hurt him. A punch of emotion slammed into me so hard it nearly buckled my knees despite the man holding me captive. The broker studied us, head tilting like he was dissecting something rare. Fascinating, he murmured. I see now. This bond between you two. It is the kind men kill for, and die for. Then he smiled. Which makes it the perfect leverage. Before the broker could give the order, a spotlight exploded from across the docks. Police freeze. Dozens of officers swarmed in from both sides, lights blinding, weapons raised. The man holding me faltered. The grip loosened just enough. Chandler moved first. He lunged forward with a sound torn from deep in his chest, tackling the man holding me. The blade grazed my skin, but missed. I stumbled away as Chandler wrestled him to the ground, fury burning through every movement. "Let go of him," he roared, landing a brutal blow. The scene erupted into chaos. The broker darted into the shadows. Officers pursued. Gunfire erupted in sharp bursts. Screams echoed. I dropped to my knees, lungs burning, vision swimming. Finney and Chandler grabbed my face, forcing me to focus. "Finian, look at me. Are you hurt? Tell me where." I shook my head, breath shuddering. "Just shocked. I am okay. You." He cupped the back of my neck, foreheads touching, his breath ragged with relief. "God, you scared me," he whispered. "I thought I lost you." I clung to him. "I thought I lost you too." He kissed my forehead, my cheek, the corner of my mouth, frantic and desperate like he could not help himself. "You are safe," he murmured. "I swear you are safe." But the moment was shattered by a shout. Were the suspects escaping toward the warehouse? Chandler's head jerked toward the officers. "Go," I whispered. "You have to catch him." "I am not leaving you." "You have to." I pressed a hand to his chest. "Go. I will be right here." He hesitated, torn in a way that broke me. "Promise me you won't move," he breathed. "Promise." He brushed his thumb across my cheek one last time before sprinting after the others. I watched him disappear into the storm of lights and shadows, heart twisting. The docks roared with chaos. Officers shouting, radios crackling, the warehouse looming like a beast awakened. I waited. I tried not to think, tried not to imagine Chandler running into danger. Minutes passed like hours. Then a scream tore through the night. "Man down." My blood froze. "Chandler." I ran before anyone could stop me. I dodged officers, sprinted past crates, and reached the open warehouse doors. Inside, the air was thick with dust and fear. 2 officers were kneeling beside someone on the ground. My heart stopped. "No. No, please no." I shoved through them, dropping to my knees. Chandler lay on his back, chest rising shallowly, blood staining his shirt. His eyes were half open, glassy with pain. "Chandler," I choked out. "Oh God, Chandler." He blinked slowly, focusing on me. "Finian, what happened?" one officer asked. "He took the hit for another one," the other said, shaking his head. "The broker escaped. But he protected us. He saved us." Chandler coughed weakly, blood on his lips. "I am fine." He tried to sit up. I gently pushed him down. No, just stay still. Help is coming." He reached for my hand. "Finian, do not panic. I am not dying on you. Not now. Not ever." His attempt at humor nearly destroyed me. I threaded my fingers through his, squeezing hard. "You stupid, impossible man. You cannot do this to me." He managed a weak smile. "You love me. That was the deal." My tears burned hot and relentless. "You idiot. Yes, I do." He exhaled, eyes soft despite the pain. "Then I will fight. For you. Always." The paramedics rushed in, voices sharp and urgent. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, Chandler kept his gaze locked on me like I was the only thing tethering him to the world. "Finian," he whispered as they started to wheel him away. I leaned close. "I'm right here." His fingers brushed my cheek. "Marry me." My breath vanished. "What?" He smiled faintly. "When this is over, marry me." The world spun. "Chandler." I would have said yes right there if they had not pushed me back. He was taken away toward the ambulance, disappearing behind the flashing lights. But I heard him. Clearer than the sirens. Clearer than the chaos. "Marry me." And my heart answered before my brain did. Yes.